What's up, and welcome back to So You Think You Know Ball, a show where we look to answer the most pressing questions in the world of football.
All aboard the game train.
What's up, and welcome back to So You Think You Know Ball, brought to you by the Game Train Network. I am Ronan Gain, and as you can see to my right, this is today's schedule. Let's jump right in. We have to start with Manchester United, Eric Ten Hag. I talked about this quite recently on the show. I defended Eric Ten Hag. I'm a Manchester United fan. But I have to admit, I've had this discussion with friends, and I've been very much a defender of Ten Hag, and that's more just blind optimism. I can accept that. I want to finally believe that we're going to give a manager a chance, and he's finally going to take it. For once, I want the manager to not be the problem. But I can absolutely accept at this stage, it's probably like a 20% chance that the manager is going to come good, and probably 80% chance that this ends in a blaze of glory with United 10 points off the top four by November, and Ten Hag is out of the job, and we're looking to start yet another project. It's just the style of football that he's trying to play. I think it's almost not that he has no style. I think it's more that the style that he is trying is just completely unrealistic, unsustainable, and just generally far too risky to ever consistently work and ever deliver success to a team in the Premier League. The way that he has the fullbacks so high, the way that they're so exposed when a mistake is made, which we saw yesterday. But I would still say that the mistakes were bad, and I think most teams who lost the ball in the areas that United lost the ball yesterday would have conceded goals against good teams like Liverpool are. But there was more control in the first few games of the season. The press was working that little bit more. They weren't struggling. They weren't getting opened up like they were against Liverpool. Yes, that Liverpool game is a bit very much a wake up call to maybe say, oh, actually nothing is working here. Ten Hag really isn't the guy. This United project is only going one way. And I totally get that side of it, but I think he isn't going to get sacked now. They're gonna give him time to develop with this latest batch of signings. They're gonna give him time because they backed him last summer. They couldn't find a candidate that they thought was obviously better. They apparently talked to managers, and there was no one that they spoke to that they thought was actually definitely going to be better than Ten Hag. So I think the board's gonna want to give him as much time as they can. And if I was him, I would just go back and do it like he did in year one. Counter-attacking football. The best year we had under Ten Hag. That was the year that, like, yeah, there were some dark days, but there was far more bright, exciting days in that season than there were the dark days that we've seen since. Like, obviously that first season we had some bad results. I think away to City, away to Liverpool, away to Brentford. Those are some bad days, but we also had the home games against Liverpool, City, Arsenal, beating Barcelona in the Europa League. Like, there was some great signs that there's something that was building here. I like to believe that it's still happening, but I can accept the frailties within this team and the style that he is trying to play. Like I said already, it just feels too risky. How high up the fullbacks go, the lack of cover for the potential for mistakes to be made. Yes, some of the players like a Casemiro shouldn't be making the mistakes that he made yesterday, and like Minu as well. Like, they should be able to do better, but the team also shouldn't be as open as it is after those mistakes are made. Like, it was almost like a guaranteed goal, especially against a good team like Liverpool, who have quality and clinical forwards like they do. So my advice to Eric Ten Hag: go back to what worked originally and try counter-attacking. That's at least a style that is sustainable, that can help them be compact, but can also work in an attacking sense. They need to start winning games. Their next game after the international break is an away trip to Southampton. If they lose that game, I'll give up. I think I'll really stop backing them, because Southampton are a bad team. And as much as Manchester United maybe aren't the finished product yet, he's got to go out and beat that team. He's got this has got to be like a statement game for United and for Ten Hag, because there's some difficult games coming up after that. Away to Crystal Palace, a bogey fixture for us, especially under Eric Ten Hag. Away to Aston Villa and home against Spurs. Like they need to start winning games, because the difficult games are going to keep on coming. It's not just like every week we're going to face the weaker teams, and like the way we're playing right now. I mean, any you can make arguments for most teams being a threat to Manchester United. So it's going to be important that he goes away. I think he's Eric Ten Hag's trying to be too different. That's what I would say about him. He's trying to do something that isn't possible. That's not going to work, and that might ultimately get him sacked. Go back to something that works. Counter-attack style works. Go back and try play that way and see if they can build some sort of consistency out of that. The idea of Manuel Ugarte seems great. And when I say the idea, I mean what you're hearing about him. I'll be honest, I haven't seen much of Manuel Ugarte playing for PSG or at international level. But the scouting report appears to be great athlete who plays like he's got a third or fourth lung, wins his tackles, breaks up play, covers the back line well. Perfect. Exactly what Manchester United needs. That's great. But then the flip side of it is limited on the ball. Sometimes his aggressiveness gets the better of him. Sometimes in the biggest moments, the game passes him by. Can United afford to carry a player in the midfield like that? I mean, don't get me wrong. Something that they definitely need is a guy who can legitimately cover the entire backline, act as that shield for the backline, break up the opposing team's attacks, win his tackles in midfield. If he's able to come in and do that straight away, and then he can just lay it off to Mainu and Fernandez, if that's sustainable, that sounds great. It just doesn't seem like it's going to be possible for them to carry a midfielder who with the way they're trying to play, they want to play out from the back, they want their midfielders to get on the ball. Can they carry? They can really afford to like a carry midfielder who's quite limited in possession. I mean, it remains to be seen, but like it's just like the idea of him seems great, but we have to actually see it in action and see if it works within this team. But then again, is Ugarte coming to the team? Is that going to make our forwards be better? I mean, I look at Xerxes, and I'm not going to criticize him too much. He's been through the ringer kind of the first three games. Obviously, the glorious moment in the first game where he comes on to score the winner. Then against Brighton, he inadvertently cost us what could have been a game-winning goal. And then yesterday, I think he was a bit too amped up for the game. He was, especially at certain times when he was in possession, I think he was trying too hard. He was trying to do too much. Had a couple of chances where he should have scored. So he's kind of been through it all. And then I'll jump on him too much. Hopefully, like it's just a few growing pains, and he starts to settle down now. Rashford, like I know there might be some sort of off field issues that Marcus Rashford is dealing with. Everyone just has to be nice to him. You're not allowed to criticize Marcus Rashford apparently, but at the end of the day, he's just not playing well, and you can't just say, "Oh yeah, let's play him back into form." This has been the case for like 18 months now, and there's been no playing him back into form. And like 3 games into the league season, he hasn't had a shot yet. He beats his man twice a game and gets in a cross. That's about it. That's about all we see from Marcus Rashford. And that's not to say the other wingers that we have are way better. Far from it. Like Ahmad, he kind of looks a bit small. He's a bit shy in terms of he needs to just kind of do more. He needs to attack more. He needs to take his man one on one more. Garnacho, I don't know. Is he not fit? He's looking a bit slow. He's still very weak, which is a very annoying trait. But Rashford is definitely struggling the most out of all of them. And maybe just give it a couple of games where Rashford comes on for the last 15, 20 minutes and just see if that can spark something. Playing against maybe a replacement defender or maybe against tired defenders. Maybe that's something that can help Rashford get back into form. Give it a shot, because it's not helping them by continuing to play him. That ship has sailed. That's not the answer. That's not going to help him get back into form. But United have a problem with their forward line. Xerxes, obviously, I'm not going to say he's definitely going to be an issue, but not legitimate forward. Hoyland is injured a lot. I still believe in Rasmus Hoyland, but again, the injuries are becoming a problem with him. And then on the wings, there's no one that you really can say they absolutely have to start. They absolutely deserve to be starting in this team. They're absolutely going to deliver for you. The wing is a weak position for Manchester United, and that's something that needs to change. And I'm not sure exactly how they can go about flicking that switch, but my initial assessment would be try a game with Garnacho on the left, which is clearly his favorite position, Ahmad on the right. Even just for one game, give it a shot, see how it goes, especially the next game away to a weak side like Southampton. Maybe that can be they can take advantage of that. Maybe that can spark some sort of form and get things going again. We shall see, but he needs to take a shot with that. So, Ten Hag, he's not going to get sacked, I think, anytime soon. I think he's going to get till at least Christmas, depending on how bad it goes. But this is moving year. Like, this is the year where he really has to show his plan is working. There was a plan to this madness all along, and start to get some sort of consistency. They have to absolutely be legitimately in the top four battle by Christmas time, I think, in order for him, in my opinion, to deserve to keep his job. We're getting to Christmas and they're, I don't know, 8 or more points off of the top four, I think then I'll be like, yeah, okay, he's just not the guy. He's just not up to it. We have to move on. But I'm keeping the faith for now. I think he's gonna be safe. He's not gonna get sacked over this international break or anything crazy like that. But this is moving year. This is the year we have to start seeing more. And last game against Liverpool kind of felt like a wake up call to say there really isn't anything more. We've seen all we're gonna see, and it's not gonna get any better. Then the title of subject of the show, Erling Braut Haaland. I mean, what more can you say about this guy? He's just so incredibly impressive. The definition of like a fox in the box. He's just a pure goal scorer. He's got 7 goals in 3 games. He's just scored back-to-back hat tricks. I didn't actually look this up, but I was kind of thinking, has anyone done that before? Maybe Shearer did it, or maybe Aguero did it, but back-to-back hat tricks is a very rare feat. And he's now got 70 goals in 69 Premier League games. He's scored more goals than games played, and that is just it absolutely insane. That's literally like Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo sort of numbers. That's the company that he's keeping now. And answer the question, is he the greatest goal scorer the Premier League has ever seen? Like, maybe. The record speaks for itself. I think this year he's going to become just the second player ever to have 2 or more seasons where he puts up 30 over 30 goals in the Premier League. Shearer did it on 3 occasions, but only one of them was in a 38 game season. Haaland obviously had 36 in his first year. Obviously, big slump last year. Only had 26, and then I think this year, if he plays 30 games, I expect him to probably score 31, 32 goals. Like that's the rate that he's going at the moment. Yeah, yeah, he's gonna have those lulls maybe where he's gonna go 2 or 3 games without a goal, and in games where maybe you expect him to get a goal, but he's also going to score hat tricks and braces against teams where maybe you weren't expecting him to do it. This guy is just on another level. And in terms of just the great goal scorers, looking at the guys where you just think this player and you just think goals. So I would look at Haaland, I'd look at Aguero, Ruud van Nistelrooy, and Alan Shearer. The guys where you just think goals as soon as you hear their name. And you say Aguero, 184 goals in 275 games. That's a ratio of 0.67. Then you have Van Nistelrooy with 95 and 150. Shearer, 260 and 441, 0.59 ratio there. Those are just they're insanely high clips of scoring. And also there's also other great scorers that I didn't mention there, the likes of your Harry Kanes, your Wayne Rooney's, your Thierry Henry's, but I'm not talking about them because I would view them as overall superior players. They're all round type of players that are far superior to Haaland. The guys I want to talk about is just in terms of a pure goal scorer. I'm tempted to say maybe he's not. Maybe it's unfair to say he's the best the Premier League has seen yet, but he is right on the verge of that. And if you were to say it, I wouldn't fight you on it. Like he is in that conversation with the best goal scorers the league has ever seen. He is in the process of becoming one of the greatest goal scorers the world has ever seen. And depending on how long he stays with City, who knows how many goals he could score. City, obviously, there's the looming thought of what might happen with these charges, etc., etc. But Haaland could stay with City, and Haaland could smash every goal scoring record there is to smash in the Premier League. Right now, maybe you could still argue some guys are above him, but I think 2 years, a year from now, Erling Haaland would just be considered without doubt the best goal scorer that the league has ever seen. I mean, just absolutely remarkable the level of output that he has in front of goal, his quality within the box, scoring different types of goals, the runs that he makes, and just the calmness and coolness he has one on one with the goalkeeper. I mean, he just dead eye locked in. The keepers don't even try. The keepers just know, okay, one on one with Haaland. Yeah, I'm losing this battle. Haaland, you're a scary man. You're a scary, scary, bad man. Finally, flipping it over to the other side of the Premier League table. The battle for relegation. Can any of the newly promoted teams survive this year? Last year, we saw all three newly promoted teams get relegated straight back to the Championship. This year, it feels like it's very likely it could happen again, but I think at least one of the newly promoted teams survive because I just think Everton are that bad. Maybe it's Ipswich, maybe it's Leicester. I don't think it's going to be Southampton. I think Southampton are very much a championship side. They know it. The manager knows it. The fans know it. They're almost definitely going back down. And they're probably going to do it with a whimper too. Then you look at Ipswich, and I think they're going to be solid enough to get results against teams. They're not going to concede 3, 4, and 5 goals in many games this year. It's just a question of can they score enough? Obviously, won their first point last weekend, but I'm just looking at it thinking, is there enough goals in this team to really mount a push to survive in the Premier League? We still don't know yet. Leicester, Leicester is just a really big question mark for me. Questionable defensively. Uh, can they rely on the likes of Vardy to really do it for a whole year in the Premier League? I don't think so. When Daka returns, is he going to be able to get the goals that they need? I need to see more of Leicester. In my head, they could be a team that get relegated, that survive by the skin of their teeth, but also could end up finishing like 13th or 14th in the league. I still need to see more of this Leicester team. I believe in Steve Cooper as a manager, and I believe there is some quality within this team. So need to see more of them. I think them or Ipswich have a great chance of surviving because Everton are finally going to go down. We've been waiting for this for what feels like, I don't know, like maybe 4 or 5 years at this age. It's just been a slow decline for Everton, slowly getting worse and worse. Great survival stories under Lampard and under Dyche, but this year, my God, they just look awful. Losing 3-0 first game of the year, then they lose 4-0 last weekend against Spurs, and then 2-0 up in the 86th minute at home against Bournemouth, and they lose 3-2. Like, I mean, really? Like, that's just pathetic. As much as they always turn it on on the other side of Christmas, I think there's a chance they could just be so far off it with their goal difference being so bad as well. That's usually an area where they're kind of okay. They don't score many, but they also end up somehow conceding they'll be in like the top 6 or 7 in terms of goals conceded, that they can usually be very strong defensively. We're not seeing that so far this year. They are in a mess in terms of their ownership and everything like that. It all just feels like it's going to culminate in finally them hitting the bricks and being relegated from the Premier League. Such a big club, and like I'm like this is a shocking thing to say because they're moving into a new stadium next year. Imagine being in the Premier League, having been in the Premier League as long as they have been. You're finally moving into a new stadium, and you're going to do that in the Championship. Like, what has happened at Everton is just really sad, and you got to feel for their fans because they're one of the most well supported teams in the league. Goodison Park always rocking. They remember they're such a big part of the history of the Premier League, the great days under David Moyes and more. But I think the bubble is finally going to burst with them, and this is the year that we see Everton go down, and that gives a shot for one of the promoted teams. I'm ruling out Southampton, but I think Ipswich or Leicester. I think I think definitely one of them will survive. Potentially they both survive. But I only see Southampton and Everton being teams that are going to be worse than those two. I'm not sure if they can get above any of the other teams in the Premier League. There's quality around there. I think you look at the likes of Wolves and Nottingham Forest. They're better. They're better than Ipswich and they're better than Leicester. So I would be amazed if they end up finishing above then. So I think I'm viewing this as Leicester versus Ipswich in the battle to finish 17th in the Premier League. That's how I see it. That's how I see it going. But still very early in the season. A lot of games still to be played. A lot of things can still change. Well, for me, Eric Ten Hag, safe for now, but this is moving year. Erling Haaland, maybe not the best goal scorer yet, but come back to me end of this season. I'll probably say differently. You have a different opinion. I'll probably agree with you. Southampton are getting relegated. Everton are getting relegated. Which one of the newly promoted teams has it in them to survive this year? I'm going to back Ipswich. Make sure to comment below. Do you think Eric Ten Hag is going to turn things around at Manchester United? Do you think they should sack him before things get too bad? Is Erling Haaland the best goal scorer that the Premier League has seen? And who do you think is getting relegated this year? Let me know in the comments and make sure you subscribe for much more so you think you know ball.